So a couple of things. Um, I'll share my screen. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, I am sharing my screen. So the big things were recently, just in terms of updates. I'll actually show you, I guess. We made the flow forecasting repo public, so that's now good. Anyone can access it. There's a couple pull requests to kind of, um, well, to mainly fix a couple bugs and errors, but once those get merged, I think everything will be working well. So moving forward, the important things for now, I guess, are just, yeah, continuing to get more robust evaluation metrics, setting up the data to persist automatically, and yeah, also adding those interpretability things, as well as writing up the reports. So, yeah, actually, I'm gonna go through a bit differently. So today, and so like, um, I'm just gonna like have people share their updates, starting kind of in order. It's okay if you haven't been doing anything, but let's just go through and see like what everyone's been working on. And if you want to share your screen, feel free to, as well, or you can just say what you've been working on. So let's see, Kevin, how's it been going?
It's been slowly. I mean, I just like I think the comment management that's like finally got back into things on this side. Just trying to gather things and you made the easy comment. It was simply just made the load data function in a GCP pipeline. Still we're gonna work on it. I'm not quite sure. And then Baton said he was doing Docker, but um, I know that uh, um, Lucas was like, we can do Docker, but at least for the time being, just to make sure it works, it's not advisable. At least just because in case something happens and we need to move platforms, um, and then the other person haven't heard back from. So it's been kind of like all over the place, but hopefully it should within like this week should put some more time into it to get some progress shown.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you've been working with Matan because I think he's been working on some of that too.
He has, but he's been working on the Docker side of things. That's what he posted. Was like, I'm working in putting into Docker, which is fine, I guess. But I know during the meeting, Lucas did address whether like if Docker was another viable alternative. But he suggested just doing GCP at least for the first step, and then Docker as eventuality at some point. But just for us to know if it works. Uh, and just have it in there as a first step.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, there. I think we're just conflating things a little bit. So, I was just setting up Docker to run Airflow,
Okay.
just in case other people, in case we wanted to share the pipeline once it's established.
Gotcha.
But Lucas had set up something on with like a web interface. I'm sorry, an Airflow account with a web interface. So he instantiated just like a tutorial version. So I'm just going to work in there, since everybody else will have access to it.
Gotcha.
Okay. So yeah, for this, yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure about the exact long-term deployment of stuff, but for now, we just want to get that initial DAG that essentially runs the load data function and then saves that data to a directory in GCS.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, that's the plan, right, Kevin? So
All
it's
right.
so the Airflow account that Lucas had instantiated, I'm going to work on getting the data to go to a Google Cloud bucket, and then after that, I'll work on Dataverse.
Okay, that sounds good. And once you have the code for the DAG, please make a pull request to our main repo, our like task TS repo, just with that code. You probably know where it is, but we should, so yeah, and then I can merge that just so we're tracking the code for that well too. So
Got it.
okay, so yeah, that's the primary goal with the data, I think, kind of engineering side for now. Later we might add other data sources like the Beat19 data and others to that pipeline to join. But for now, I just want that data persisted on a daily basis. You know, to either to a directory or in the file name saying what date it was run on, so that we can easily tell, oh, this was what the data looked like on this day. Because as I said, occasionally there have been changes where they change the format. So like a new day, suddenly the data will be in a different format than it was. So that way we just have a historical record of what the data looked like on specific days, so we can always restore a model from that. So okay, so that should be helpful. Let's see, going down, yeah, I just kind of talked with Kevin and Matan. Maggie, how's it been going?
Yeah, so I started looking into the interpretability heat maps with Michael. So we briefly talked about it yesterday. I'm just going through the resources, basically looking at the BERT-viz implementation, and also another heat map from IBM, which they did a explainable sort of visualization for multivariate time series. So I'm still like reading through the paper and looking at the implementation right now. Maybe Michael has more to add from his side.
No, not really. We just talked about like different ways to visualize things. I proposed looking at SHAP just because it's like it's not necessarily like creating like a heat map for the weights of the neural network, but it's really good to explain like which features are important into contributing to the like final prediction. So I think that would be good to like present to other people. But we also talked about like me looking at just like extracting the weights from like each neuron and putting it on a heat map.
Yeah.
Just to see if that's possible.
And you guys have seen kind of what BERT-viz does in NLP. We're using a similar kind of mechanism, so we could probably visualize what steps are being attended to in a similar way, which could be good, is something to think about. But yeah, the primary goal here. Oh.
I had a look at the BERT-viz and then look at the visualization they have. They basically visualize the whole BERT 11 layers and then all the heads into one big graph. Yeah, so it's quite complicated in terms of if we try to use it to explain it to other people. So it's something that we were talking about yesterday as well, is the goal to sort of explain the features, the importance from the model, or just to understand the model itself?
So, I mean, I guess both of those are good goals. I mean, primarily, one, we want to understand what the model's doing so we can make improvements to the model if necessary. But most importantly, in our end product, we want to give like these features that the model thinks is important, either through its mechanisms or how it's working, to like our like partners in epidemiology and say, oh, these are what the things the model thinks are important when predicting the spread of the virus. Are these similar to what you would think? And then they can go and look, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought that variable would have been that important, or whatever. But they can give like feedback on the model's kind of decision-making process. So it's in essence a better way to validate it, but it also might spur like potential research in that area. Is like, for instance, if our model thinks something's important, but that hasn't really been researched in epi or something, then someone might want to do a study on it. So that's kind of, I guess both are important, but I guess the most important right now is I want something explainable to kind of the epidemiologists and public policy people, so they like would know, like, because a lot of people aren't just going to trust a black box model even if we fit it very well. So that's kind of important.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
But yeah, as a side effect, definitely if we could get a better understanding of how we could improve the model, say like, oh, the model's not attending to these features we think are important, or the model's focusing too much on these time steps, then we might look at, oh, is there a hyperparameter we could alter or some, we're already kind of doing that with the parameter sweeps, but, or is there like some other way to like get the model to look at these things? But I think the first point is kind of the most important, but I guess they're kind of connected too, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. So anyways, okay, that sounds good. Just keep me up to date with that. That will require changes to the main repo. So probably like unit tests and other things. Also, I don't know, like does, what's it called? Shaft, or what's it called?
Shap?
Shap.
Yeah, Chef.
SHAP.
Does that work model in a model agnostic context? So we could just take it and put it on any base model, or is it like we'd have to modify each base model in the repo?
I'm pretty sure it's model agnostic.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering because I'm also working on adding some new models to the repo. Pranjal is actually working on converting the cross-dimensional attention model. So if we had some technique that was just generally like we could supply like the parameter to the config and then it would work with any base model. I think that would be best to focus on initially. Then we could look at more model-specific interpretability, but I'd like something that could be just like applied across models if possible. So. Okay. But yeah, but yeah, just let me know how that's going. Obviously, if there is no method that just can work in a model agnostic fashion, we'll have to look at adding it to each model individually. But I do think there should be some model agnostic techniques we could apply. So, okay, so moving down the list. Wendy, how's it going on your end?
Rather slowly. I've been busy with other things.
Okay, did you finish some of the experiments I know on Italy and other regions? Or?
Not yet. I still need to extract the relevant results out from where bases, and kind of I want to double check like the so kind of you suggest using a longer prediction window. So I'm just trying to see whether my results make sense on them, but I haven't gotten around to looking at it yet.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I haven't seen how well the prediction window influences yet, but that's something yeah, I mean, it has kind of worked for some, but it hasn't been ubiquitous against the counties I've trained on. So it would be interesting to see if it works there too. There's also a question if, I guess, like with a longer window, does it require more pre-training because there might be other things to deal with it. But anyways, okay, so I think Pranjala just joined. Hey, so Pranjala, we're just giving updates on what we've been working on and any like impediments or other things blocking our progress. Do you have any updates?
Currently, no, as I told you yesterday about that model, so I'm still working on it. He has used some custom libraries, so I'll be working to create them myself. And let's see if it works or not. Because as far as I know, your idea is awesome for creating a Hugging Face for time series. So it would be a good idea for that.
Okay. So it's like, yeah, so I know that you looked at the code. I know it's a bit complex. If you have specifics questions, could you just like type them up to me and stuff? And then I could either look into it or I could potentially reach out to the author of the paper kind of with that if you have any like specific questions on it.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, yeah, that would be good. Yeah, and just for context there's this paper on like cross-dimensional attention and applying it
Okay.
cross-dimensionally to time series data in particular. So, and what I mean by cross-dimensionally is particularly the attention mechanisms from the transformers and NLP in particular only are applying it kind of along sequence length, which is the like words in the sequence, because it wouldn't really make sense to apply it cross-dimensionally there because there you just be applying it across the word embedding. But in time series, we obviously have all these very multivariate features like, obviously mobility data for different locations, temperature, et cetera. So if we apply the attention cross-dimensionally, it will then hopefully select the most relevant kind of features. And then if we also apply it temporally, then it's kind of this cross-dimensional thing where we're attending to the most relevant features at the most relevant time steps. And that could also definitely help with interpretability because, then we could see, is the model actually considering the time step, T minus 10 days back with mobility data important or not? So yeah, that could potentially be useful. But the code from that paper is kind of, I don't know if it's really messy. It's just confusing because it's actually a pretty complex concept. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get that incorporated in a bit. Yeah, if anyone wants to help Pranjala with that, let me know. He could
Do you have the link to the repo? Because you mentioned a paper to me and I haven't actually seen the repository and I'm quite interested in it.
Yeah, I do have the repo for it. It's like, what is it? Yeah, it's the cross-dimensional. It was actually rejected from iClear a while ago, which is kind of odd because I thought it was a kind of a good paper, but so they never published like I think of their full code of it, but they published this kind of anonymous submission with all these kind of like partial. I think some of it's partial classes too, but ideally. I think this is the main part of the model. This is obviously in TensorFlow, and our package runs in PyTorch, at least for the time being. So the idea is to convert this to PyTorch and then put it in so it integrates with all of our weights and biases and GCP and other nice features we already have. So yeah, but yeah, I can definitely post this to the channel too. I'll actually do that right now. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing with that. I guess, yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. So yeah, in terms of my stuff, my updates, yeah, I've been working to massively pre-train on some of the flow data. That's why I kind of brought up that bug to Michael in the first place, because some of the code was no longer actually pre-training on the flow data, but that's working now. So what I've been looking at is using like a giant transformer with something like a bunch of blocks because we weren't using very many blocks before because we thought they would overfit. But the idea is to pre-train this on others and actually freeze the upper layers of the transformer and stuff. So then we were only training on the actual outputs for our time series. But the idea is hopefully the upper blocks of the transformer then learn those general patterns from the flow data. Those general temporal kind of feature extraction patterns, and then the lower layers would be good to fine tune to the COVID forecasting. So that's one of the things I've been looking at. Other things, yeah, I've just been trying to organize our like data architecture and get stuff working on that, yeah, and kind of chart out like kind of more of what we're working towards. Also, I was fixing that bug for a while yesterday. But oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I've been in touch with Sergey. He hasn't been on our calls recently because he's been kind of busy, but I know he is trying to get more epidemiologists into our groups. So yeah, I think those are all kind of good works in progress. Yeah, that's the main stuff from my end. Also, I think there's been a guy, Eisen or something, who's been kind of proposing like different setups to try to get like groups to work more efficiently. He's kind of a project manager type person. So he was recommending we work in small teams of like 2 to 3 people he thought would be best on most tasks, and have like one team do a specific task. So I've been trying to experiment with that a bit more. So I like put Maggie and Michael, you two together. I think you're good to work on that task. Matan, Kevin, you working together. So yeah, if you like that setup, let me know. If you prefer just working by yourself on things, that's also fine. But yeah, he was recommending we try that out a bit. Anyone have any thoughts on that, or if you'd rather work kind of individually or just as a like small 2-person team on a task?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I've only worked with like Maggie for like one day, but it's like good to like
Yeah.
bounce ideas off of her and to like, yeah, voice some of my ideas and then realize like, oh, maybe this is a bad idea, or like, maybe this is a good idea. So, and it has like more accountability as well. Whereas like if it's just one person, it can be easy to like forget about doing it. So I think it's overall really good.
Yep.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a good way of doing things. Also, in terms of just trying to keep people like active and engaged. I know we all have other jobs, but that's what we're trying to do with like everything open source on GitHub. So like if you work on something, there's a clear trail of like you resolving the issue. So then like if you want to point back that to like some future employer, like all your pull requests and stuff will be public and it'll show up as activity on your GitHub. Also, yeah, of course, if anyone has worked on our team a while and wants me to write a rec on LinkedIn or anything, let me know. I'm definitely willing to do that. But yeah, it's good to like think we're doing a good job keeping people like motivated. But yeah, I'm just hoping to continue to do that because I know other teams there's been some drop off and Team Geo completely died. So I'm just hoping to keep people motivated and hope to like give you like a career benefit too. So if you have any other ideas of how I could help with that, let me know.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So yep, that was all I was going to cover today. If there are any final questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will end the meeting.
I request access for the COVID-19 data, but I haven't heard back from anyone. You said the person I forgot his name, is also in the group.
Yeah, it's
that I
Mark
can talk to?
Shapiro. So his name is actually Mark Shapiro. This is him. So yeah, you can message him directly. I could send him a DM too. Whichever works.
Great.
It's fine. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. So that's all I would wanted to do today. I do think I'm going to keep up the polling for like what times work for people for in terms of meetings, because for a while I was just saying 1:30, but based on the polls, it looks like earlier people actually prefer. So, but yeah, I think it's nice with kind of the easy poll. So I'll just keep doing those. Anyways, have a good rest of your day. And yeah, we'll meet again sometime on Friday. I'll do a poll again early in the morning, or early my time, to see when works for people.
That was good.
Great.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.